ഏഴാള് ഇതുവരെ കയറി. Hello, Reddy.
Hello.
Yeah, Samayalo.
Yeah. So is that time? Yeah.
Oh, തുടങ്ങാം. സമയമില്ല.
Hello.
Hello.
Pooja
Hello.
is there? Pooja.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, audible.
Yeah. So I think today is your role.
Okay, sir.
You invite Professor Raghavan Paidar.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Very good evening to one and all. On behalf of all the participants, I invite Professor Raghavan Payanan for the further deliberation on the ongoing workshop on revisiting folklore and the folkloristic. I extend warm welcome to you, sir, and I request you for the further proceeding. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening to everybody. Then, no, I feel at home today because all these days I had been talking about something else, not folklore, especially the political, social, and economical background of the world society, world community, and in which, according to the need of the respective era, how the epistemological evolution has happened. Actually, all these days, what we have been doing a placement for my revisiting folklore and folkloristics. As all of us know, no discipline, even a single knowledge, will be created without the pressure from the surroundings. So any knowledge production, yes, some sound is coming, but are you hearing some sound in echo? Are you hearing some echo?
Somebody else.
Hello, Raghavan.
Yeah, some echo. Echo is there? Yeah? Ready? Some echo is there, I think. Yeah, it has gone, I think, now. It's audible.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Yeah, no echo, I think, no? Yeah, okay, let us continue. So any knowledge, a single knowledge or discipline as such, would not emerge without the need of the respective era. So, to evaluate any kind of discipline, we have to consider this background in which social, political, and economic background in which such a discipline has arisen or a single knowledge invented. So, for the last 5 or 6 classes, I think 6 sessions, we have been evaluating what has happened in this world since Renaissance. what are the major political evolution and economic evolution simultaneously, and social change also. We have been evaluating all those things the last 4 or 5 sessions, only because we need to, for an evaluation of the folklore and folkloristics during this period after Renaissance, we need such a knowledge. Then only we can locate our folklore somewhere. No, as I earlier said, folklore is not a single discipline by its own. All the time, it is traveling along with other disciplines, and it requires so many knowledge from other disciplines, and therefore any evaluation of folklore activities and folkloristics, the academic folklore, we have to have a clear understanding of this one. It's socio-political situation all over the world, what made folklore to emerge. So hereafter, I'm coming to the folklore as such from the, as you know, all of us know that it is starting with the popular antiquities, and now we are in a stage of officially, at least officially, we have no such discipline. That discipline has almost merged or submerged with or in intangible cultural heritage. So it's an evaluation in what all situations, what all circumstances through which this folklore, popular antiquities moved towards 2 centuries. And now what is its position? And we have to evaluate simultaneously why it happened so. So why popular antiquities emerged? Why in the history of folkloristics a particular time that terminology was shifted or changed? And William J. Thomas came with another term, that is folklore. Why? And after that, so many changes that had been happening in folklore. So for the, I know very well that this if I divide this whole this duration into different segments for the analysis, for the easy analysis, or somehow we had to segmentalize this this duration from since Renaissance to today. So my criteria was something political, political. That is why I went with this. No, not political. It is something cultural itself, because I have been talking about political and other things to evaluate the earlier these disciplines. Knowledge system, production of knowledge system. It demands some other basic parameters to assess the knowledge system, epistemological movement that happened all over all these 3 centuries. But now I shift this to this cultural term, that is modernism. So I divided that modernism, then postmodernism, and after that 21st century. So that demarcation is there. With that demarcation, because I have my own argument for that, why this, I took this modernism as a one segment, and because folklore also going with this cultural change that happens in our this atmosphere. So this is what happened. So when we come to folklore, these three segments, one is this modernism. What happened to folklore during modernism? What changes it adapted during this period? What is the reason for that? All these things we have to evaluate, and then only it will be a thinking or like that, revisiting folklore. So that is the methodology that I adopted in this after this this session onwards. So next, this postmodernism is the modern period is the then that also ended with this 21st century. When we reached in 21st century, everything has changed, and that a separate part we are dealing with. Now let us come to this one. I think the slide. I think Shivakumar, let us go to this. Yeah, I'm waiting for the slide. Sorry. Yeah. Folklore and folkloristics during modern period. That is our title. So this modern period, then I come to postmodern period, then 21st century, and there is a separate session for the evaluation of the international interference of folklore on folklore. That also is a separate thing, because that is very, very important. All these things are together, but again, I evaluate the movement, what all movement, academic movement that happened, or this activist movement also happened in folklore, because why? That we have to evaluate in separate all these three segments, and that is called as a separate session. That is this that I think I forgot that title of that one. That is evaluation of the 21st, not only 21st century, or these centuries. What was the political agenda behind these such changes that happened in folklore? That a separate session is for that. International, that is the title, International Interference on Folklore. Then the last part is that the future of folklore and folkloristics. Then we had to evaluate everything, and then we had to think about what is this future of folklore and folkloristics. That is the last session we have. In that last session, we have to have serious discussion about this discipline and probability of that discipline, how it can be we can move this subject forward. How? That is a question. Already internationally people doesn't want this discipline as such. So what we will do, we have to think seriously. That I also put forward some idea about that also. Then we have to have discussion on these things, and I think we can have a move to not for the sake of the academic this innovation and academic exercises. Postmodern idea, it is this knowledge production is something like a play. It is not a play. We can't do that. We can't see that it is any knowledge is emerging from a particular socio-political and economic system around it. So the postmodern thought that it is a play, that's very, very, we can't accept that. So as far as folklore is concerned, how unless there is a particular function to do a particular discipline, it won't withstand. It has to disappear. That is why so many disciplines are moving towards this the peril or facing so many problems. So at last, sometimes if the situations, the circumstances, atmosphere tells that it is this discipline is not needed, then it has to go behind the scene. So that is the thing. With this introductory remarks, let us come to this one. That first one is this the state of folklore and academic folklore. I'm not using purposefully not using the word folkloristics. I have a particular intention behind that, even though this folklore and folkloristics is in the title. Here I am using the state of folklore and academic folklore during modern period. Because academic folklore means, I think in the first session or so, I think I explained that there is a difference between this folklore studies and folkloristics. So to convey the idea that if I use the word folkloristics, then it is restrict to that idea. If I use folklore studies, it restrict, confined to that particular area. So both these together, I put together and call as academic folklore. So what has happened? No, the method I adopted here is I divided the thing into two. That is attitude towards folklore. Folklore means both folklore as well as academic folklore. So these two divisions are there. Attitude towards folklore, one section, and the other section is attitude towards academic folklore. Each and every item gets these two things and evaluate that. Then I go to the next one. The next. Then let us see. You see, yeah. Attitude towards folklore and folkloristics. Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah. Yeah, this one. Some slide is bigger size. I think the top of that it is seen there. In my this one it is not seen. The top part, this popular antiquity is there. Yeah, yeah. But in my this I am using notepad. Sorry, I can't see that that part of that. That title it is there. In my mind it is there, so I can read that. That is it begins with popular antiquities. So we had to explain why we are revisiting folklore. Before this technical term, this UNESCO used to say that it is not technical term, it is an institutional term. So before that term folklore, the area of study was there. Before this 1846, that this William J. Thoms introduced this word folklore, Anglo-Saxon word. Before that, that itself, so maybe 1 century back, this subject was there. That was what is the attitude of that subject towards folklore? Why? Popular. It was known as popular antiquities. Popular, as you know, popular is what is popular, and antiquities both word you may be knowing. So I don't want to explain that and wasting time. So the thing is that nostalgic. That is the main reason this popular antiquities as a subject of study arised on those days. Why that nostalgic? Because we had to evaluate that why that nostalgic. You know the word nostalgic. It is something I think in this literary term equal to that is homesickness. This is a psychological term, that nostalgic. So nostalgic because we have to explain that a little bit more. During those periods, this, as we have explained earlier, that science, technology, then industry, and industrialization was strong on those days. New industry coming up, and accordingly, new products also coming up. So industry needs two things, that is production and the dissemination, or not dissemination, marketing of that product. Twofold, its function is twofold. So naturally, this creates two kinds of cities all over the world. Wherever I'm talking about this Europe and America and such countries, not India or third world countries on those days, because they're still, you know, that is why when we yesterday Kandasamy was asking one question, that why in Tamil Nadu it happened like that, because in India we are far behind this whatever cultural or social or economics this evolution. We are 50 years back. So whatever happens in Europe, it takes, not now, it takes in earlier times, it is half a century. So whatever happens in the name of Renaissance in Europe, we never knew about that. We were still continuing in the same socio-political situation as you know, in Kerala, even though the socialism, democracy, and so many things happened, so many revolutions happened in outside, but still India was like a village country having so many villages and village life is so prominent on those days. So that thing was there. So whatever I am talking here is not related to the third world countries or this Africa or their tribal societies or thing. It is whatever I am telling is a worldwide reality that happened. No, industrialization was happened in Europe. Later, very late in other countries. So Europe and America. So Europe, I am talking all these things. Popular antiquities was a subject not in India, not in even China, not in Asian countries. That was in Europe. So as a subject, I am telling everything now up to, I think, this first part of this. So nostalgic because of this industrialization made it possible, because I am coming to the earlier idea that this industrialization created cities, urban society, that the thing happened was the movement of for an industry, you have to have raw material and at the same time human power also. On those days, no other source of energy. The 90% is mechanical energy that is created by the human power, by human. So human power and raw material is available only in villages, and industry create a particular area, it develops, then people, these workers as well as raw material coming from the village side, outside the cities, and that is why it needs this transportation. And if you see the demography of the cities, this density is so much, because people migrate from the village to the cities for this purpose. That is, industrialization happen, industrial cities in the beginning, and the next part is that it's the marketing of that. For that also, that kind of cities also emerge. After the products, it moves to the market, and market where this is buying and selling happening, and accordingly it also needs human power. And these two kinds of cities all over the world created, and this density, the people from village moves towards these cities, and the cities became very, very thickly populated. So these people who were migrated from village for so many reasons in cities, and they have this memory of their village because it is a new situation. City, the life of the city is something else. So they was forced to keep away their belongings, their relatives, the environmental circumstances, their flora and fauna and everything, and their environment also. So they wanted to, they are thinking about their in their memory, it happens, no? All these memories of their village life. They know that slowly it was going to vanish. So it created a mental worry, and that mental worry is nostalgia. It is memory of the earlier state of where did they live. So that kind of, if you examine who were the persons engaged in popular antiquities those days, were people lived in cities, not in villages. Then village people were living in peacefully. But those who migrated from cities to from villages to cities, they have this mental problem and nostalgic this one. And the second one, this is nostalgia that they had. All people who collected folklore and who published so many materials on those days were people residing in cities, and those, if we inquire into, we can find out that they came from, their origin is from village, and they were forced to move the cities. So this is the nostalgic thing that happened. That is the beginning of a particular subject of study, that is popular antiquities, and later it became folklore. Then the next portion of that is, after some time, as you know, we explained very well that how these three things, that is colonialism, industrialization, and capitalism. These are, one is power, then other one is economic, and the third one is again this one, capitalism, is something economical, and this one. So in these systems and these social systems, political systems, and these things, colonialism was so strong. They wanted to, because they need raw material for new industry. So they were traveling all over the world, and they found out that raw materials are, so much of raw materials available in different countries. Not only raw material, for industry, the human power was the base of that. Where do they get this one? They found out that people from these countries, third world countries, these village, those who are living in the village, they can take them, if colonize them, make force to take them to the cities. So that is why in India, in coastal, maybe in Tamil Nadu, so many people were taken to the nearby for these islands, for this sugar factory. So they started sugar factory in nearby islands, and I don't remember the exact island name. And they were taken there, almost like slaves. And their human power used for the industry and new products that sugar as a product come out, and that they have to send to all this as a product they wanted to sell out that. So that is the thing happened in this one. So they wanted to, in relation to industrialization, they wanted to make colonialism so strong. That is why colonialism and this industrialization are correlated. The progression of both help one to the other. So that is happening. In the same way, capitalism, because investment is needed, and they wanted to make more profit and double or triple this investment. So capitalism was also with this movement. So this is the situation, political, economic, and social situation that we had in Europe, especially on those days. And that situation created to evolve these popular antiquities. I think by this is the situation. There, Jomar, you take the next one. Barbe, that this one, popular antiquities. Yeah. This is terms defined by earlier one. Yeah. So this is I am talking about this popular antiquities. On those days, actually, what is the we are the attitude towards folklore and folkloristics we are considering, and actually these popular antiquities, what is the view? Whose view? Who were the persons engaged in popular antiquities? If you read this earlier popular antiquities scholars from in the area of popular antiquities, you see that all those people were highly educated and engaged in different this area of this Joe, that is popular antiquities. When you read that there are so many people, doctors, engineers, and epigraphy, on those epigraphy is not a problem. The geography was so strong, and scientists also, and so many people who are highly educated, they were doing all these things. So it was a view of the civilized, those who are living in the cities and part of the cities. They wanted to look at their own past. So it's a view of civilized on barbaric, maybe their own barbaric era. When they were barbaric people, they moved to the cities and they were become part of the civilization, and they wanted to look at the barbaric society from where they have come here, they have reached here. So it's a view of the civilized on barbaric. Actually, popular antiquities is like that. Then it is Jaina. What is the content of that study? When we look at that on those days, what was the subject matter of the popular antiquity deals with? Then it was generic. Generic means folklore was identified. Not at that time, it was not folklore, only popular antiquities. Then that itself was identified through genres, folk tales. You see, this in Germany, this William brothers, that is what you call William Jacob and William, some other name, I forgot the name. That's called the brothers. They collected so many tales. They were interested in folk literature, And at that time, folklore was not there. And they were actually interested in this folk tale. Some of the people interested in the knowledge of this folk society, folk people. Some of the people wanted to this geography of the people in the area. And so many people in their own respective field in which they are working in the cities, they were searching for their own past. And that it is not only a view. So they wanted to collect that I will come a little bit later. So how do they look at folklore or popular antiquities? It is the whole, this area of study is the life extended to the whole life of the people, the respective people. So at that time, the area, when we talk about this academic subject, the data for folklore study, popular antiquities was as vast as the life of the village people. So what all tradition they have? People are living in tradition, with that tradition, nothing else. So the whole life was the subject matter of this popular antiquities on those days. Then folklore little later, that is Dawson, I put it here for this that genre itself. What happens to the genre? I will explain later. Yes, it came here for some other reason, I think. So, and what these people wanted to do? Why? And what to do? What they wanted to do? They did so. This one. They know that the tradition is going to extinguish. So what to do? Preservation is the one way to sustain the tradition. So on those days, it is very expensive, this museum and other things, only political reasons all over the world during this political power, they created museums and archives. But these people who were engaged in popular antiquities, they were not political people, political power. Hitler has this power, and he established so many museums, traditional museums in Germany with a political end. But in the case of popular antiquities, we can't consider as a part of that as directly as popular antiquities, because this academic work. So this academic work engaged those who were engaged in these popular antiquities. They wanted to preserve. So when we, for fear of something, then we wanted to preserve that. That is why whatever we have, that is why the individual museum, great people, now we are erecting in individual museum because they have gone. But that memory haunts us. So for that, to keep that memory of such a great persons, we create museums and archives for their to create their to sustain their memory. In the same way, those who are engaged in popular antiquities, they wanted to preserve something, preserve these traditions, and not only preserve, make it disseminate. Through dissemination, as far as possible, they wanted to sustain that tradition also. So that is why we are also now. The thing is that in India, we are still in a romantic nationalism period as far as folklore is concerned. Everybody is very much interested in preserving and disseminating folklore. Why? That we have to consider later. So for fear of extinction, They wanted to preserve these things. Preservation on those days, mainly, you can publish that. You can publish article on that. That most of the time it is a descriptive one. And this is the thing. And here also we have to compare that, two centuries back, what has happened in Europe and America. The same thing happened now also in our land, as far as folklore is concerned. So we never change. Why? We had to evaluate that we can do later. So dissemination is the second part. What their function, their motto was to disseminate that also for fear of extinction. So this is the popular antiquities. In the era of popular antiquities, so what was when we evaluate that, this is the reason for this, and the way the approach that they had taken all those days, that I evaluated. So generic studies, generic descriptions, so much we have. When in the last century, not last century, 20th century, 20th century, last of the 19th century, in Kerala, the part of Renaissance or part of these things happened in Kerala. I'm giving an example that slowly on those days, this tradition, the traditional life of the people of Kerala was changing swiftly. Then they published, this Kottarathil Shanguni. One author, he wanted to publish this folk legend about the land. So many subjects. The traditional legend. Because in the introduction, it was told like this, because nowadays people are not interested in these things, and it will be vanished maybe within 2 or 3 decades. So I wanted to collect and wanted to publish this, and in Malayalam Manorama on those dates, 1890 or so, they published all those things regularly, and later it became a big volume, that is Aidhyamala. So this is the thing that happened everywhere, not only here. I think centuries back it happened in Europe. This Grimm brothers, they collected this one centuries back. The same reason, because he retold those stories, tales available in Germany, and he was telling that this it has so many moral. The same thing. I don't see any difference between these words of Kottarathil Shanguni. I think 2 years, 2 centuries, nearly 1.5 centuries. Width. That means maybe it is in the 19th century last, maybe 18th century, middle of 18th century, Grimm brothers doing all these such things. And so the reason they posed is, it is our morality is going, vanishing. So to teach, make the younger generation about our morality. Yes, these genres are not withstanding, won't be there. So we have to read, the tradition of telling tale and listening to the tale is almost gone. So still that kind of a tale is needed for the sustenance of the morality of the people. And therefore, we had to move this tale to the classroom. For that, we had to publish that. So he retold that in such a way that it can be read in the classroom, taught in the classroom. So it is a folk tale retold by Grimm brothers. It is very interesting that to see that Kottarathil Shankuni, the same words in Malayalam. He also this reason why I wanted to publish this one. So this gap is there, so we had to. So this is the thing that popular antiquities. I revisiting this popular antiquities when we are in 21st century, beginning quarter of that, we are standing here and looking at these early stages of folklore, that is popular antiquities. Now let us come to on these days. What is the attitude of academic folklore or attitude towards folkloristics? Not folkloristics, it is popular antiquities. In the beginning, as you know, those who have little knowledge in folklore, in the beginning, not only in folklore, in all subjects, even in science also, the first thing that we inquire into the thing is that the origin. Who are you? Then you had to answer. If you see a strange person before somebody comes before you, the first question that you ask is, who are you? From where are you? Like that, so many questions regarding the origin of that particular particular man or particular culture or anything. So inquiry starts with this origin and evolution. Origin first, then how they reached here. What is the route through which they reached today? So that is the origin and evolution. In the early days, when it was popular antiquities, you see all these people, those who are working in different subjects, different discipline, they were shown much interest in this such our own people's tradition. That is why origin and evolution theories in these early days. You see, whether I don't have much time to deal with those things because you know this Max Muller, his theory of origin of this folklore, origin of tale, myth, that is called solar mythology. How this myth, the main mythology available, he analyzed that, and in a philological, with the philological background, and he found out that it is this solar system that is mainly the sun is behind this, all these things, all these myths. It starts with that. We have solar mythology, origin of this one, origin of myth, and it was condemned by this anthropological school, and they told that I forgot its name. They told that it is not like that. It is the beginning of folklore. Max Muller says that it is the beginning of folklore, and this performance and other things. Any ritual comes later as an enactment of this ritual. It was the argument of these people. But anthropological theory, that is ritualistic theory, it was called. They coming next to that and says that severely criticized this Max Muller and told that it is not like that. Before language also, man used to do actions for they have wanted to communicate their relationship between this self, human being and the physical world with the other world, the metaphysical world. So they did so many rituals. So to explain that ritual, myth arises. That is the origin of myth. So earlier origin is ritual. That was their argument. It was a long, criticizing this Max Muller. It was a long, I think, 30, 40 pages in his book, that anthropological theory, that ritualistic theory. So theories of origin, so many theories of origin. Then also tales that is available in London, Britain, and Theodore Benfey found out that the origin of these tales, maybe idiotic tales, small tales, animal tales, that tale, the origin was India. And he found out the route through which from India it traveled all the way to these Arabian countries and reached later in Europe, and later it took new shape. It was they changed the new text created out of this Indian, this Panchatantra tales, especially Panchatantra tales, and they created a new face to that, and it became this tale of this outside tales. So that was the origin of these things. And so many theories of origin on those days has come, how it starts. And so many theories of what was now when we talk about the history origin of something, two things we have to know. Any origin and in search of origin, two things they had to consider mainly: that time and place. No, three things: time, place, and form. What is the original place of this one? A particular folklore, popular antiquities or folklore. Or the next one is in which year or the era in which it was originated. And the third question is about the third thing they wanted to inquire is what is the form at that time, original form. And after finding out these things, they wanted to find out that what happened to this original form it passes through different time and space. Actually, that was later, it was actually this historical geographical method by Carle Crohan was that. They found out that their epic, folk epic, that's Kalevala, having so many thousands of text and variants. They collected all those things and find out that the origin of that particular epic, such and such place, on such and such date, and later it moved from that place to different parts of Finland. And each part, what was the form it made according to the pressure of this society. So that varied forms because of that. And they found out, not only that, they found out the theory of historical geographical method to find out original form, time, and this one place. And not only that, it drew the route through which that particular Kalevala traveled all these years through different places and took different shapes, variants. So that was the early thing happened. Actually, it was not this popular antiquities period. It is later, but now while talking, we can't demarcate this one. This like this, because it's a continuous process, and for the easy understanding, easy analysis, I wanted to put these three segments for this duration. That is this one popular antiquities and like that. Okay. Again, next is functional theories counts. You see in anthropology, here I wanted to say that these things, there was no discipline as such. Folklore was not a discipline. Popular antiquities also was not a discipline. People from different disciplines, they wanted to come. They wanted to enter into this field because of their nostalgic feeling. They wanted to study these things, and they published so many things. So actually, There was not a discipline at all. It was not a discipline at all. It was not a subject at all. It was, they called it as popular antiquities, that's all. Later, you see this anthropology was so strong, and that discipline, I have been telling all these days about these such things. A discipline is not by its own, standing by its own. Left, right, and front, back, and top. So many disciplines. Inside that one discipline is getting flourished, or maybe without anything, without very difficult to manage itself and find out no way to develop. That also that was the fate of folklore all these years. I think we will get that idea later. So from functional theories, anthropologists were so fond of this functional theories. Why? That questions. We had to answer that question. Why that? What is the function of that? Why it is in existence? Without a function, nothing can be existed in this world. So that is the way to look at the thing. It has some that is from the text to outside the text, the social life. We have to look at it in that way. What is functionalism actually? Functionalism is something that folklore is something that subject is something by itself. But function is in the society. So it moves our attention in functionalism. What happens, all these till that day people used to think about, talk about that particular data. But after that, it goes, what the relationship of that particular data with the society. Outside, it moves, our attention moves from the subject to the society in which it exists. It created the idea that it is function. It does something to the society. Accordingly, so functionalism was in anthropology, so many people, and that was influenced by folklorists or this area people in this area. You see this oral formulaic theory at that time, this Milman Parry and others, and how it is, that is actually from society to individual. A performer, part of the society, when he wanted to have a performance of a particular folk literature, epic or something he wanted to narrate, how he was able to, maybe it is having thousands of lines. Is it possible that to remember all those lines? That was the inquiry by Milman Parry and others. Albert P. Lord and Milman Parry, these two people inquired with this, and later they found out that it is not, they are not just recollecting what they heard through their memory. They are recreating that. There are some formula for that. They remember only those formula. According to the situation, according to the audience, according to the physical situation, they are very brilliant. They can find out, they can smell that this is happening now. This is the in around my this presentation. These people are like this, and their attitude is like this. So I had to behave in this manner. So he remember only this formula. That is why a folk singer, if you pass before him, then he can create. He can create
Raghavanji, audio
has gone. Yeah.
Audible,
Yeah,
sir.
Audible, sir.
Audible.
It's there. It's audible, sir. It's there.
Yeah, Reddy, check your mic.
Reddy, sir,
Your
speaker
earphone,
otherwise.
because people are telling that they are hearing. Yeah?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Ready? Yes. Okay. Yo, it's a break. So it's a theory is functional oral formula theory. What they have done is that they found out that there are some formula for this thing. If somebody passes before him, immediately he can create a few lines on him. If he knows that particular person, if he doesn't know the person, he can assess that person's which group he belongs, and then accordingly he reacts. So that is the formalized theory. I don't have much time for these such things to see. So next slide, we can go to the next slide, that popular antiquities again. That is, yeah. Sure. So attempts to define folklore as far as, now I am coming to definition part of that. Now, a subject, if it needs an existence, you have to define that subject. Now, we are in a situation that folklore is as a subject faces so many problems, and for existence, we had to redefine folklore, appropriate the definition of folklore in such a way that the present socio-political situation and give function for our discipline. Otherwise, it won't stand. So that is the thing that I am going to deal with all these days. What have been happening in the field of folklore, and why it continued for the last 2 centuries like this. And now it is facing a serious issue that it cannot exist without support of someone, or it is going to extinct. So we had to redefine folklore, revisit folklore, and redefine folklore according to, appropriate it with the socio-political and economic system of today, and accordingly we had to shape, we had to change our attitude, change the whole system. A discipline means data, then method, objective. These are the 3 things. Any discipline. A discipline means these 3 things you have to define clearly. That is, what is your data? What is your objectives? Why do you want to do that? This folklore, keep this folklore. Then the 3rd step is that to reach that, to fulfill that objectives. What is the way? What is the approach? That approach is methodology. So whether we have any methodology as such for folklore? No. Then how can it withstand? You have to answer yourself. What is the objectives of folklore? No, we don't know. Each study has its own objective, not the discipline. Then how folklore can exist? Then about the data is okay. Data is okay. Folklore, if folk is there, folklore is there. Until and unless folklore and folk and folklore is there, you can sustain. You can tell that data is there. That I can study. I make study on that. But what about the situation? But the other 2 things, no idea. So to revisit or to analyze, to look at what was the function, how that subject defined, popular antiquities was defined on those days. These 3 things. What is the data? And why do you want to study? What is the ultimate objectives or aims of your study? or your activity, not only study your activity, and to achieve that goal, what is your method? As far as popular activities was concerned, the data was very clear. I already mentioned that it was as vast as the life of the traditional life of the people all over the world. That was the data of popular antiquities on those days. No doubt about that. That is why those people did this area of study. Each person having their own skill, their own area in the new disciplines, and accordingly they found out the respective area in the popular life of the people, popular traditions, and they did the research on that. So at that time it was traditional life, not folk life. Traditional life. There is a difference between traditional life and folk life. What is the difference between now popular antiquities? The data was traditional life, not the tradition, not folk. So that was actually when we introduced the term folklore, the total discipline, total subject of study got changed, because they studied not only folk, they studied those who have come from which place and they, what tradition, what all tradition they know, they worked on that. It might be on tribals. It might be on the paradise. No, not paradise. This one, the palace, their tradition, kingdom, their tradition, the architecture, their tradition. No, anything they can study on that. So there is no concept of folk on those days. So it was tradition of all kind of people, or all of the people all over the world, what all tradition they have, it come under popular antiquities. That was the data of the popular antiquities. So when a restriction has come, it is not just introducing a term. Just no, when they wanted to say that instead of popular antiquities, today onwards, now here onwards, we had to use folklore, the term folklore. Actually, it has its own aims and objectives. That folk never represent traditional life, traditional people. Folk has its own connotation, because on those days it was decided by the anthropologists who are the folk. And the whole world accepted that also. So when William Jones introduced the term folklore, it was a tremendous change that happened in the evolution of the popular antiquities, and it is a shift from popular antiquities to folklore. It is a restriction that has come in the case of data. Instead of the tradition, instead of the whole tradition of the world community, any community, it may be king's tradition, palace tradition, it may be tribal tradition, it may be folk village people tradition, it may be nomadic people tradition, anything. That was that kind of vastness that popular antiquities was having. One fine morning, when William Jones introduced the term folklore, that folk decided what is the data. They demarcated all other traditions from this folk. So our data is not the whole tradition, but the tradition of the folk. Then they defined what is folk, who is folk. This discussion, I think later in the 19th century, 20th century last also, that discussion, still that discussion, who are the folk, that discussion is going on. So we can't see this terminal change. Why do they want? No, it has its own intention. Political, social, and economical intention when a subject to popular antiquity is changing its nomenclature, it has its own aims and objectives. Why UNESCO wanted to change this folklore into intangible cultural heritage? It has its own, it is a normal, something happens, no? That I will come later. I think when international interference of folklore, then I will explain how many years it took to shape change this terminology from, that means nearly half century it took. The discussion that have been going on in 1952 starts with 1952 and ends with 2004. That means more than half a century. Discussions after discussions, and at last it accepted a new nomenclature, that is intangible cultural heritage. So I will deal that with that, separate this one. So I don't want to talk about that now. So comprises of all traditions. Yes, master is culture. Culture means that, it is, if I say like that, it is not true as far as culture, the definition of culture is concerned. That part of culture having tradition was actually, I have to put like that, it's a wrong idea. So you have to correct that. Yes, was that part of culture having tradition, because culture connotation, that meaning of culture is something else. Culture is anything that is created by human being in this universe. And this conceptually, the definition, some definition says that if anybody, a human being and a humanity, the moment it cognates something in the nature, it becomes culture. That definition also is there. So we have so many things about culture, definition about culture. So here it comprises of that part of culture having its own tradition. We had changed like that. I forgot to add that one. Okay. And what was that was data. As far as I'm concerned, this when we define a subject of study, whether it is a discipline of subject, you have to tell these three things. You have to find out the three things. Basically, that is, what is the data? Data means the matter you are going to study. I think the matter that undergo this your imposition of your methodology on which, that is called data. To achieve the goals of your study, you have to impose, you have to adopt a methodology, and to achieve that, what kind of methodology on which data, which matter? That matter is data. So that matter, as far as popular antiquity is concerned, it is traditional thing, traditional culture. What is the attitude towards that? This one, then we have to, that also we have to consider. Any academic work that glorifies the tradition. That was the aim of, when we talk about the objective of this one, because this nostalgia works. So they wanted to glorify their past. And that glorification, glorifying things, that was the aim and the objectives of popular antiquities. Glorify the past. And accordingly, as a subject, as a mere subject, not a discipline, it has not a specific methodology, was not evolved on those days. Each and every person, according to their will and wish, they made their attempt in their own way, and there was not having any common methodology for popular antiquities. So whatever done by these people in this field in the early days, they were doing something according to their will and wish, because they have a field of modern science or modern social science with them, and accordingly they understand this, look at these traditions, and accordingly they analyze that and publish that and disseminated that. That is popular antiquities. Then a time has come, 1846. This term folklore, Anglo-Saxon, this one, that also a thing, you know. I don't know the exact answer for that, why this folklore, Anglo-Saxon word for this subject of study, that was not usual. You see, if you go to this epistemology of this all over the world, you come with so many disciplines in different sub-disciplines also. All nomenclature was created from Latin, or maybe mainly Latin. That is why when we talk about anything, medicine, anything, the origin of that one from Latin or Greek, Greek, mainly Latin. So why folklore was not, instead of this folklore, an Anglo-Saxon word used for a discipline? Why? We have to answer for that. No, it is not the wish of that particular person only. William Jones, okay, he is a British man, and he wanted to put that Anglo-Saxon word because his language is the history of English is English or Scottish or anything is when we talk about that, the origin is Anglo-Saxon. So that kind of no, but all over the world it was taken care of, that folklore, the subject, the terminology, that term. Why it was accepted? That itself is an eyebrow, giving an eyebrow. Why? Why it happened? So I don't know exactly why, but there may be some reason for that. Okay, no, even though William Jones introduced that term, later somebody can change according to the Latin. I find out a Latin root and find out this folk and lore. They can find out the Latin root and find out a new term for that. That was happening. That has happened in all other subjects. This except this. Why? That's also a problem. Okay, then definition mostly by anthropologists. As far as folklore is concerned, I am talking, so far I was talking about this popular antiquities. That now time has come that we have to shift from popular antiquities to folklore after 1846. Then, you see all these days, the terminology is, the term is not a word. Term is always a concept. It loses, a word and concept is, even though word is a concept is a word, there is a difference between word and concept. Concept means it is not, always it is inside that so many meanings, that cluster of meaning with that word. Nobody can change that. If I introduce a concept, nobody has the right to change that concept. They can modify, they can change, because it is forever. That is the concept. A word, when we use that word as a concept, explaining like that, this is the meaning that I am inserting into that word, and hereafter it will be understood in this way, then it is a concept. It is no word meaning won't be there thereafter. So that is the concept. This definition, always with these concepts, definition mostly by anthropologists. You know, anthropology was the strong discipline on those days as a social science. And they use the word folklore now and then in their studies, in their literature. And their understanding about their concept about, and they created the concept of folklore to them. Folklore is that Anglo-Saxon term means that it is something you say, maybe oral tradition. No, as far as anthropology is concerned, their dealings, their material, their matter, their data of their study is culture, both physical culture and the physical this one, as well as culture also. That is why physical anthropology and cultural anthropology, I think Chalaperumal knows well. In this cultural anthropology, they use this term folklore. Before introducing this Anglo-Saxon word, they were using folklore because it was part of the folk is part of the barbaric, they referred as this barbaric people. And that is why they wanted to say that it is oral tradition, not oral tradition of all the people, but oral tradition of the particular sect of people that is in between the civilized and the traditional primitive people, that is folk. So folklore is, the subject matter of folklore is that, the data of folklore is that, as far as anthropologists are concerned, it is the oral tradition of the village people. That is the thing. They insisted that, and the early definitions given by anthropologists now and then, they insisted on this. Now also they use the term folklore for in this meaning, I think in this meaning itself. So that is the thing that now I wanted to say, that a discipline can't grow without the support of other disciplines. Each discipline has its own existence, and they wanted to curtail this independence of other subjects also, because this folklore is once upon a time part of anthropology. And people, William Jones wanted to say that it is not like that, it is like this. So the subject should be like this, and define that. Then anthropology didn't accept that. Then what to do? That is the problem with folklore now also. How the people understand, because not only these academic disciplines also has power. Politics is there. Each discipline go with other discipline. Why sometimes they put pressure on other discipline, and sometimes they accept the help of other discipline. You see, when we look at the evolution of folklore, most of the times as a small discipline. Why that it became a not an important discipline, I had to explain later. Why it became like that. We had to evaluate that also. So other disciplines wanted to define folklore. If you wanted to define folklore, then other disciplines also accept that. Otherwise, you won't. You can't go further. So all the time, as a subject which was part of, as data, as a data, it is part of Western anthropology. If we accept that their definition, that oral tradition of these peasant people or the village people or barbaric people is folklore, they have to accept that. Otherwise, they will pressurize all the time. Pressurizing That is the politics of discipline. The disciplines among themselves, there is politics. Then they wanted to insist that we wanted to be away from that definition. Giving a definition is some kind of pressure, some kind of politics that the discipline keeps. And other discipline, it has its own power. And power politics plays within the discipline also. Not only power politics, cooperation also, borrowing. So all the time, what happened to folklore is that folklore always borrowing this one. As far as this discipline is concerned, it is a borrowing discipline. All the time it borrows ideas, concepts, and other things. When we look at and we ask what is the this contribution of folklore by itself, what is the theory by itself? No, you can say that it is European theory is folklore. It is not like that. It is only the application of syntagmatic structuralism on folklore, not the folklore theory. That is folklore, okay. That is Kasky. That is the Ukraine tale. But the method that he applied on that Kasky is not created by folklore, but by structuralism, especially Sassourian thought. He applied that on this one. So we can claim that it is a folklore theory. It is a borrowed one by him. Data is okay. Data is folklore because it's all oral tradition. That will be agreed by the anthropologists and sociologists and others also. So this is the thing that happens. So power politics is there within the subjects also. So we had to see that, we had to analyze that when we evaluate and revisiting a subject, we had to evaluate all these things among the all other disciplines. What have been the position it was having all these and what was the suffocation a subject had. That we had to understand that. The thing is, about definition mostly by anthropology. That is the thing mainly. You see, in I think 1924, that Marina, what is the Dictionary of Folklore, Mythology and Legend.
Maria Leach.
Yeah?
Maria Leach.
Maria Leach.
Yeah, Maria Leach. Okay, Maria, thank you. I am so getting a little bit old and my memory is not going with my wish. That is the problem. So don't worry about that. So you had to assist me in such cases. Okay, Maria Leach. Then so many definitions in that. Almost 70% these definitions given by anthropologists, not by folklorists. They all say that it's oral tradition. It is a hunch as far as folklore is concerned. That's the problem still now. So what we actually suffocate, that suffocation is there. So I am not blaming anthropology. It is as a subject, it is its own right to say that it is part of this one. Why do they want this folklore? Until and unless folklore as a discipline has its own objective and say that my objectives of my study is this, then I can take worsening this, make more and more vast my data. You have no right to question me but we don't have an objective of our own. Then what to do? You can't claim. That is the problem with the folklore. You see, what is the objective of folklore study? As such, anthropology has its own study, its own aim and objectives. Sociology has its own objectives. Psychology has its own. Even philosophy has its own. Then what is the objective of folklore as a discipline or a subject? Nothing. Anybody can study in his own way. Then if anthropology comes and say that you have to define your data, we are going to define your data, then we have to give answer that our data is because I will take all these data for our study because I have to fulfill my objective. My objective is this. You have no right to question me. We have to tell, but we are helpless. This is the main problem that we are facing. So, definition mostly by anthropologists, they defined folklore. You see, you go to this Maria Leach's book, and there is a part, the definition of this folklore. Then, most of the definition deals with this oral tradition. So, limited to, that is the thing, limited to orality. The rest of the culture is our data. Don't enter that area. You are trespassing. Whenever we enter into that out of this orality, they warn us that don't do that. It is our data. It is our area. Don't come inside. So we can question that, but we can't at present because we don't have any clear-cut, definite objective for folklore study or folkloristics. Actually, Alan Dundas wanted to define folklore in such a way that it has its own objectives. Be accepted or not, that is another thing. What is the time now? Yeah, we have to stop it. So my time is over. So I have to keep the time also. So I think a limited orality, I stop it here. Yeah, then we can have some discussions, and we have to finish by 9 o'clock. We have to stick on the time. That is also part of the as a discipline. Like discipline, we have a workshop as its own discipline. We have to do that also. You have to keep that also. So 4 minutes more I took. Sorry for that. Okay, then you can have discussion.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think now we have come to the field of folklore directly. So now I request the participants to interact.
Good evening, sir. Ruchi Rana this side. Thank you, sir, for the amazing lecture. My question is where you ended. How can we develop objectives for folklore studies now? How can, how to move forward from here now that we know different challenges that we are facing and problems? How to move forward from where we are stuck?
So I think you try to reserve all your questions pertaining to today's class, because you will get answer for your question after our workshop. So for the time being, you please confine to the today's class, please.
All right, sir. Waiting for the answers now. Waiting for the coming sessions.
Sorry, you are muted, sir.
Sir, please unmute yourself. Professor Raghavan Payanat, sir.
Sorry for that. Okay. As Bhaktavalsali said, we have to learn how to be, work in, how to be in a workshop, how to behave in a seminar, how to behave in a this what is called a discussion session or like that. So it is different. You have to see that it is a workshop. Workshop means we together. I am supplying data, no, something, supplying some data to you, and you people are going to work on that. And that kind of, whatever material I have given, according to the motto of the workshop, or this aim of this workshop, you have to work on that thing, and you have some doubt and other things, you have to talk to me, ask others, and we had to together, we had to reach some conclusion. That is the way of the workshop, not a seminar. Seminar is you can ask question and something we can go. You can your own way. I have as a presenter. I can go from here. You can also. You are also part of that. And we together sit together and we are molding this one. So this is the way of approach in a workshop. So here, as Vaktal told, I am talking, not talking to you only, the whole these participants. No, we are here. We are talking about so many things and the problem of folklore and other things. You know that is why I gave the schedule earlier. You see, the last schedule, in that schedule, the last session is, what is the title of that last session? You know? No, you don't remember? I know, because I am responsible for that. I had to answer for that. So that is future of folklore and folkloristics. Actually, in the beginning, I put this as the title of the workshop, but later I changed that, revisiting. And revisiting, through revisiting, we had to find out the future of what the folklore. So there is a session only discussing on that subject, future of folklore. So in the whole knowledge that we discussed, all these sessions put together in that session, and we are, not only me, we find out our own answer for that. That is why I wanted to this discussion. So it is not a question to ask me. I have my own idea. I put that idea before you, and you have to discuss as a folklorist. You have to discuss, and all academicians in this workshop, after some times it disseminate outside, and they are also working on that, and that will be a kind of disseminating the ideas, and it will create a new horizon for folklore, right? Oh, otherwise it is. Yeah, that is the thing. Now, so that is, I think in this question we can postpone. Yeah, you are looking so sad. Yeah, why? Yeah, no, it is not blaming,
I was
because I
just
am
thinking,
talking
you're
about
right.
the workshop. Yeah, yeah. Don't
No,
feel this. Yeah, your face says that it is something. No, it is not like that. We are together, no. I am little bit senior. You are junior. That's all. That is only the difference we have. I put some. I have the capacity to put academic capacity to put something before you, and you can make it this find out something out of that. That is the workshop system, not question answer like that. No, especially this we have to answer this later. No, you don't ask this question the last session, because we are going to deal with that. Up to this Allenden's conceptual understanding, conceptual understanding of Allenden's definition was one. Last but one. When I finish that, an idea will be there. How we are going forward. What is the way come out of this peril, this drastic situation that we are facing? I think so. I don't know exactly. Then we can discuss that. Okay, madam? Yeah? Yeah. It is for others, not for you. Okay, then next we can discuss the problem that I put in this session. Yeah, next.
Sir, myself.
Yeah. Yeah, Mandal.
Professor
Yeah.
Sujoy Kumar Mandal.
Yeah, I know.
You have discussed nicely
Hmm.
the theoretical development of the folklore studies.
Hmm.
You have mentioned the origin theories,
Yeah.
like historical geographical method or solar mythology. Generally, historical geographical method developed based on comparative method.
Yes.
My question is that what is the relationship between comparative method and historical geographical method?
Yeah. No. Historical geographical method is he made use of so many concepts from different disciplines. So you are talking about a comparative method. That means, I think your understanding is that there are so many variants of Kalevala, and each Kalevala, each variant is taken separate and cut it into traits, and what all variants available, they cut into pieces into traits, and similar traits put together, and on the number of this one. So many methods they use for this historical geographical method. That is, it is historical geographical, because it is they put together, and cartographic method is the main method that they use to give the route of this Kalevala from original place to different places of this Finland. You know, cartographic method. I don't time to now to explain that. That is geography. That is part of geography. Without a cartographic method, historical geography method. As you know, this comparative method is a general method when there are two entities or more than two entities. To find out a truth, you can put together and compare. Compare means two things. One is similarity, homogeneity, and heterogeneity you can find out by comparison. These two. Through that, you can find out that here comparison is not for heterogeneity, and there's not one. This is homogeneity is more important. They find out the traits of homogenic traits together and put together, and on the basis of that they find out the original place and this route of that how they traveled from that original place to different places through different routes with different forms. That was the inquiry. So comparative is very, I think it is not so serious as cartographic method or any other method they use.
Yeah.
So trait itself is a concept, not by this cartographical historical geographical method. Trait is a cultural term already established earlier by scholars, and they borrowed that and they made use of that. That unit itself is given name of the unit itself, trait. So in that way, it is so many methods used in historical geographical method. It is not a theory; it is only a method, and through that method, they can find out this origin and evolution. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Now you understood, I think, Mandal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you are confused with so many things, I think. I think we had to read more and more about methodology and each methodology and different disciplines, what all methodology they use in social sciences. Each social science has its own general methodology is there. Still, each discipline has its own variants of that method they use. Then Methodology is a bundle of methods, not one method. So many methods put together, then you get a methodology. So many concepts inside that. Okay. Then.
Sir,
Yeah.
good evening, Kanda Subramaniam, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Your face is all the time. Welcome, welcome. Yeah.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Mm.
Thank you, sir. Sir, while we are discussing the conceptualization of folklore through historical ages, where we can put Antonio Gramsci's discourse on folklore and his thought about folklore in a is in a semi-colonial and post-colonial way. Or as a neo-Marxist, he also made his impact on folklore, sir.
Okay, the same. The problem is the thing that we have a separate area, section that post-modern period, what happened to folklore. We have a separate session for that. I think this question you can pose. Otherwise, I don't know. Sometimes Sudhakar Reddy may be better than me to answer this question on Gramsci, because I am not a specialist of Gramsci. I am basically a folklorist, and for my livelihood, whatever academic this knowledge I need, I used to get from other disciplines. Basically, I am proud of I am folklorist. If I have some ignorant about other things, I don't feel any shy on that, because I am not a this one. Anyway, Gramsci, we can talk about. I know Marxism also, no problem about that. Marxism has its own evolution, and you know what is the fate of Marxism today, where it reached in theoretical level and praxis level. So it is a it is our livelihood that we get a theory. Then out of that theory, we get our livelihood as an academician. So we had to find out our own academic theoretical innovation. That is an academician. Then only you an academician. Otherwise, in academic, that means academic livelihood. That is all. We are teaching, learning and teaching, that disseminating. But as a folklorist, as an anthropologist, as a sociologist, and when he is able to find out, innovate a new principle out of his surrounding data, the problem comes to him and he has to answer the question by giving. So deductive method is very, very important. How many people are following deductive method instead of an induction method? We are so fascinated by other authors. What about your data and your this thinking? And find out your innovation. And tell that it's my innovation, don't question me. I will give an answer. So that is the it's a pride of an academician. So we had to find out our own way to everything. So that we can discuss later. I think we can get the help of others also.
Yes,
okay,
sir,
your question is very, very
yes, sir, because while we are discussing whether our field is lying under in social science or humanities, and if you want to give a conclusion, means as Ruchi Rana also raised the question, because from the beginning, you people are created our thought provoking, sir. If we are considering, if we are doing our research in a scientific way, means how we are going to approach the lore in a scientific way. Whether we are considering the lore as a scientific, this type of all.
No, if you have, may I interfere?
Yes, sir, please.
If you have an objective, why you wanted to study? If you have that, a clear-cut aim, objectives, or something, then the whole other thing will come after that, following, proceeding. So we don't have any objectives. That is the problem. We have no problem also. What is the problem of when you write an article, research article, what is your problem? Just to publish, that's all. What is the social commitment? What is your political commitment? What is your economic commitment as a human being living in the society? Then you have to ask some question, and you get an answer. You have no problem. You have no question. You are doing some exercise, as I had told earlier. It's a play, amusement. That's all. Is it so?
Yes, sir. Because all the peoples are all disciplines, psychology, philosophy, all other disciplines are dealing with people only.
Yeah.
We people are more concerned regarding not only with lore and folk. Lore and folk with the researcher also we are considering. We are taking this trio, sir. The other discipline, the mathematics also doing the same type of work, science also doing the same type of work, but they are not at all dealing with the researcher and the problem with the data they are taking. But we people are more concerned about the data which we are taking and the relationship between the data which we are taking. The researcher and the data. So we think that the researcher have more responsibility on the data and social, like that. So in this path we are moving, sir.
So anyway, in the last session, we are going to deal with that also. Where do the position of a folklorist as a subject of research? Object of research is data. As a subject of research, he is the man to decide everything. Where is his position? We have to answer that question. If you want to make it as a discipline, production of knowledge, that is why I was so much importance given to this one, production of knowledge. Two things in the last so many classes. One is production of knowledge. The other one is development. In between everything. So we had to put ourselves somewhere as a researcher. What is your position? Where is your position? You have to decide. Either philosophers has their own position. They told that either as Heidegger tells, or so many other people tells, they have their own position as subject. Inside the object, we can go and go inside the object and tell that I am inside this and I am looking around. You can go a little far and looking at in a distance and say that this is that. So you have to find out your own position as a folklorist, as a discipline. So far, it never done that one. So we have to. Then people will give respect to you. This is whatever glorifying. If possible, you do dance also, kunita also, by academic exercise. Yeah, that is happening in our folklore seminars. We are ashamed of ourselves. I am not against this, proud of our own past. So it should be. Then we have to justify that. Why? Why I am proud of my past? You have to answer that question. Otherwise, it is a kunita.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I am actually having some happiness now. I can share something to you, whatever I feel so many years. Yeah, it's a,
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So I am indebted to you people that you came and listening me. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, honored.
Others, please.
Yeah, it is 8:56. We had to stop by 9.
Hello,
okay.
Sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
It's me, Mitchell. It's a one direct question. Chasing of and is the original test is how much important in folklore?
Yeah. What's your question actually? Okay.
Chasing of is the original test. Is the how much important in folklore studies or folklore studies?
Yeah, that is an important question as far as this origin and evolution. That is a part of historical, to identify. Whatever we are doing is when we get a data and to analyze that, we are supposed to analyze that. Then there are so many ways to identify that data, to cognize that data. What is that data? What data tells to us? One thing is that the historical, this identity of that data, that is origin and evolution, that is needed for understanding that. Then the next one, what is that data to the society or the folk, the community? That is also very important. So all these things, historical understanding, awareness is as equal as this surroundings environment also. When there are certain studies like structuralism or these performance studies. You don't want to go to this. They never care much about this past. Performance is a present this communication system that also so many connotation and denotation of past. Still, their main concern is the present situation, the immediate context and distant context. That is part of that distant context. So we had to deal with history also. So we can't be, but the direct, the objective of folklore is not to find out the history. It is more deep, more serious about the present, what it is to the society, what is its structure, what is that system, and how it works, and what is the relationship between other societies, how can it go, what is the direction of its change, like that. So many things we had to, but the main thing is that it is a present, not about the past as tradition. That is the problem that we are facing as a discipline in folklore. We are still glorifying the past. How far we can go then? If you want to glorify that, folk and folklore won't be there after a few years, then what to do? So we are more serious about the present. So then we can have a dialogue with the intangible cultural heritage also, the definition of intangible cultural heritage, that also doing the same. So anyway, we are going to look into the definition given by UNESCO to folklore and to intangible cultural heritage and compare that, then we get a clear understanding what is folklore. I think as far as UNESCO is concerned, that means as power is concerned, not the folklore's pure academic folklore, academicians of folklore. Okay.
Sir, as you mentioned in your lecture about the Theodore Benefice migration theory, sir,
which theory?
Benefice migration theory.
Migration theory, yeah.
Yes, sir. Apart from Benefice, is there any scholar who have worked on the migration theory? Because I was looking for this and I did not find much has written on the migration theory, sir.
Yeah, migration theory, maybe so many things. I don't know much about that thing, because this migration theory, early folklore only dealt with this origin and evolution. After that, very, very rare. This migration, I think, if you go through the, not a pure folklore, but if you go through the study of Levi-Strauss, it is highly concerned about the migration. A particular community is whole argument is that a particular tribal community who are in the primitive stage, then slowly this environment, both physical and social environment, force them to move from one place to another. They create, they modify the same this binary opposition, the manifestation of this same binary opposition into another one. So that is why you get a cluster of manifestations, and if you go deep, you get the real binary opposition that they had in their past. So he was so, at least you can read the Raw and the Cook. So you can find out that how this migration works in myths. Not directly, it is not very easy to read that. That is very difficult thing that I don't, because such a huge data is having. So it is very difficult to, when he says that M12, then immediately the next sentence it is M13 or 55. Like that, each sentence is full of these references. Then it is very difficult to follow. So if you take time and go through that, we can understand that migration. And I think the main migration theory is the bed-face theory that we have as in folk tale. And I don't see any other thing in our way, I think. Theories are there because why when we talk about now we have in India so many fairy tales, but as far as especially the South culture, we don't have any fairy tales as such, but now we have so many fairy tales in India. That is true. Not the whole community migrated, but the message or this travel, this genre traveled from one place to another. When somebody comes, studies are there that the teachers from Britain came to India, and they used to tell these such stories, these folk tales to the students, and that disseminated through the students to so many people, and they changed this everything, this structure and unit and everything, and they created a new fairy tale out of that. So Indian imprints on that. So that kind of studies are there. I don't remember this.
Yes, apart from this, if we look at the epics, traveling of epics throughout the region and throughout the country, across the country, epics like Mahabharata, Ramayana, we find a lot of mutation and modifications of each. Yeah.
That is migration. You see, not only migration, migration is there. You see in South, I am more familiar with South. So in South, you have this very important myth of Kannagi. That is actually that happens in Tamil Nadu, today's Tamil Nadu. And the whole thing, it's moved towards south, and it goes to Kudungalur, and then it travels all the way to north and south. And Kannagi story myth is very important in the culture of Malayalis, Kerala people. And it has so many versions, not only so many versions, it has so many manifestations, not only epic forms, but also performance, like so many performance of all over Kerala. So migrational, this study is very important as far as folklore is concerned, I think. But we are not for that. We are just just describing what it is. That is the practice now in our universities. Okay, thank you for your remarks.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, others?
Sir, I have a question, but I think it might take a little long even for me to form it in a constructive sentence and for Professor Raghavan sir as well to answer. So I think I'll write it in the workshop notes, or I'll come back tomorrow with the same question.
Okay, yes. Okay. You can send by email to me directly. Then I can give question. If I am able to, I am not a omnipotent in academic. Hope you know. So,
I understand that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you,
If
sir.
possible, I will give
sure, sir.
right answer for that. You send email. You know the email rpayanad@gmail.com. Okay.
All right, sir. Yeah, I'll write it.
rpayanad. Okay, that's all.
Is there any other question?
We can stop it now. I think it is time is more. I think it is.
If no questions are there, I think we will conclude here. We'll meet by tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello, Shiv Kumar.
Shiv Kumar.
Sir.
Yeah, we can conclude.
Oh, thank you. Before that, thank you, Chellaperumal and Sudhakar Reddy. There's viewers today. I couldn't give the bowl to you. Sorry for that.
No, sir. You did an excellent job. We're just enjoying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, one thing, Sudhakar Reddy, the Gramsci is there. I am not an expert on that. So you have to answer at that time. I think.
Neither I am also not.
Yeah, I know very well what is your this capacity to talk about Gramsci. Okay.
Sir, I
that is why in that way I need the help of other scholars. No, I am not well versed with all theories and all these things. Yes, and when it is needed, you have to come left and right and make me go forward, push me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, I have one point to share with our participants. Some of you have given only 3 or 4 lines as the class note. This is what we are not expecting. What we expect is how you understand the whole class. So I think some people, they have given a very good report, and very few people, they are not so much. So I request you to concentrate on that. You try to give at least a 1-page note on your understanding of the lecture. Okay? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chellaperumal wanted to say something. Yeah, Chellaperumal.
Though I have some of the things to respond to your lectures, Dan, but the only problem I have, the beyond 9 o'clock retaining the participants and all, somehow I myself is not comfortable. That is the reason which makes me to control myself. Another thing, all these days for more than 1 week workshop, only 5 people have responded. And though all 5 repeat, same 5 people are asking question, responding and all, it is not a healthy trend. They either, as I myself controlling, these 5 people also should control themselves. They are also writing well comments through email. Please give opportunity to the others also. Before that, just half a minute I finish. Especially regarding the because Professor Payanad gives a good opportunity for all regarding the migration theory. There can be something else also can be told. Though Theodore Benfey started the migration theory, from him anthropology took and very big school, so many schools of thought of diffusion theory came. Later, once again, diffusion theory was much more streamlined and scientifically made once again by these historical geographical theory. So it's a whole lot of these theories. If you put together, analyze or read, you will understand the whole migration theory well in advance. As I tell once again, this third migration theory of Benefi, diffusion theories of anthropology, and once again the historical geographical theory of Finnish Karle Kroon and Julius Kroon. These things. Okay, I limit my here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, let's just conclude. Ready? Ready, yes.
Yeah, we will conclude now. It's already 9:16. Okay.